Tashidele, Victoria. Tashidele, Khenchen, Kempola, Lama, Gongchig. Welcome everybody. We're going to start the program today, the teaching today, with the My Mandala offering.
Hoàn toàn giải thoát khỏi những ràng buộc của chân và huyền, siêu vượt danh tự của các tướng, các của sinh, diệt và trụ, siêu vượt đến và đi, lấy và bỏ. Mạn Đà La tối thượng chính là cảnh giới tâm nguyên sơ. Chúng con xin dâng lên cúng tất cả và qua đó nguyện chúng con được gia hộ để đạt đến cảnh giới Phật. completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and attributes of arising, cessation and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may we be blessed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Om Guru Deva Dakini Vatna Mandala Pratisha Soha.
Sanjin Judam Sojin Chonam Lai Chanchu Paldu Dane Jebsun Jin Dage Jinso Jebe Chonam Jola Penjire Sanjin Drubar Sho Sanjin Judam Sojin Chonam Lai Chanchu Paldu Dane Jebsun Dage Jinso Jimbe Chonam Jin Jola Penjire Sanjin Drubar Sho.
Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings.
Ma namga dan nyambe samjen tamjen dewa dan dewe judan dembran jurun je donge dan donge je judan trevaran jurun donge mebe dewa dan menjava jurun je nyeren chadan nyedan trewe dan nyamla nebran jurun je ma namga dan nyambe Simchen Damchen Deva Dan Devi Judan Timbran Jurun Je Donghe Dan Donghe Je Judan Trevaran Jurun Donghe Mebe Deva Dan Menjarvaran Jurun Je Nyeren Chadan Nyedan Trarve Dan Nyamla Nebran Jurun Je.
May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Chācē wādān chūcēn shāpādān jīsū yērāṅ gūshēn sūrvā yē gāvā chūngcēn dāgē jēsāmbā dāmcēn dzūmbē chāñchū chēmbūrāṅ.
Whatever slight virtues I have accumulated through prostration, offering, confession, and rejoicing, beseeching, and requesting, I dedicate it all for the sake of complete enlightenment.
Sāshīṃ bhujī chūshīṃ mēdōrāṃ rīrīvē līngshī nyedē jimbāndē sāñjī shīnglā mēdē purvāyī dhūkī namdā shīndō jīmbārā shō gūsō yōngzō lāmē sōnam lā chēnā sānsūṃ tēshī nyechī Dālū lōngchū nāngsī yōngshī mbā lāmē chōgī ngūdū dzārdū sō wōmā ngūrū ndewā ndāgī shēnā mēndā lā bādhī dzāyā sō.
The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountains, the four continents, and the sun and the moon. As a Buddha field, I offer it. May all sentient beings sit in the happiness of Buddha field. To the lamas who possess the three kayas, I offer the outer, inner, and secret offerings. Om Guru Deva Dakine Radna Mandala Pratisha Sua.
Simchen namje samba dang loyen che dang che drawa che chon tumon tebai chujen kolo gordo so.
Please turn the wheel of Dharma of the greater and lesser vehicles, and the teachings come unto both according to the dispositions and mental capacity of the sentient beings.
Khenchen Kurve Jensen Jesuran Shenkara Gawala Druran Zabe Gaji Rinpoche Jeba Namra Tabe Jenjen Chenab Je Chujun Jesu Shenpe Yendrase Meshi Shen Onam Jachewa Yenrungwa Lenjen Trepe Drupje Tema Mebe Lama Damba Namla Jan Zarshen Choda Jebsun Chevo Jenjen Labran Zendo Dojin Chemandelo Naroda Manmeta Parinji Deng Gyaltsen Sumden Sabela Meshawa Daju Lama Yedam Chuzong La Surwan Deso Daju Shenje Lo Jenzinga Tumba Zo Sanje Gandrumang Barden Namra Shira Tujiran Jen Tarve Lamdam Yongzen Shinye Namla Gujan Zar Ladan Lame Mamje Wambodang Jerjin Lo Chuje Shola Shawa Sheva Nam Sanje Sonra Rabdu Shijen Deve Jujiru Tetan Cheje Dambe Chunye Baryan Dirshi Shi 남가다 냠베 신제 담제제 튼도 도절라나 매버 양답으로도 산지지 공방당 바 진내전 도브르자 대체도 다 담배추 사모난 주버지고 냠베 삼바 찬춤초도 레버를 설던데 셈버쇼 데라 강 셈버셰 추데라 근데 지단 그거는 제가 있나 산제게 까당 데네 번공 파벌 루드블라 소바 데네 자라게다 벤트다 등수고 송제베게 땡주당 데네 덴데게 까당 땡주기 된 힘보 탐지 찍도 되바 맹하게 용 다든데 숨 잠지 예바래 가서 투섬지야라 투섬금 숨지야라 땡주자네 다 탄다 까당 땡주기 된 탐지 조직들 제외되네 맹하게 땡주 어떤데 다 담배주 공부지고 용세야 대시월 제가 어떤데 지인 말에
In order to benefit all other sentient beings with the motivation of benefiting the other sentient beings, try to attain the state of Buddhahood. And in order to have that, try to practice the teachings. And we are here right now on the stages of listening the teachings. And the teaching that is the teachings, the Buddha's word, and also the commentary from the scholars, such as like Nagarjuna and so forth. And also the teaching today we are going to have is the one which is concise of all the teachings of the Buddha's teaching, and also the complementary commentaries of all the great master, that is the Gongchig. So we are going to talk about the Gongchig.
테네 단단데다 가당 땡주 맹아세나엔다 테네 야 초진의 조선의 당연들 장에 테네 산제기 주선나엔다 말아서 넘버 산제박의 주선나엔다 공직이 선나엔다 간달 늘라 산제기 템바세요 다 산제기 템바텔파 예와체 연구 장에 테네 롱게 템바 직당 오베 템바 산제게 템바데 테네 넘버 2순도 연구요래 롱게 템바 오베 템바스 다 롱게 템바 세도잔에 가르송고요래 생두 다단데 간주 간주르당 땡주르게 되네 빼차 송럽이 데나신 페나 공직이 빼찬 된다고 이나 롱게 템바 세게래 테네 오베 템바 세인두잔에 간주르당 땡주르 데나신 공직 단 덴데기 용 덴소기 나나 송자베기 된텔라 카르세게스나 데네 또베기 템바스 어티인드자네 롱게 템바탄 또베 템바스에 니기나나 산제기 템바 탐체인 든도요르와 나 덴데인드자네 아주 데네 템반 짐바세요르와 다 템반 진세인드자네 가르체네 템반 쟁고요레스나 템발라 페야티도 남순 쟁고 말에 남zul라 페야치도 템반 쟁고요레 티인드자네 그냥 카시에스도 템반 쟁스도 자네 남zul게 템반 쟁데나 템바 코랑라 직베 시위직 편토 유베존도 지소모 땅시기로와 테 말에 템바 되긴 남zul로 팽게요 남준 진나 테나신데 테네 타단데다 tembanzins, ta tembanzintang tela tene kariyore sen zane longi tembala tusam ge tonen zengore. Longi temba tenzu peja tenzu ji taasa ya zingnem chöpa pulse ge yurjibu mare. Inan chöpa puna choda sagirowa rede inayang longi temba tenzu zu ka shigne. pecha zu shigne tene tenzu tola tusam chegoyare. Tende cheba ina longi temba ten zimba sage. Tene tobe temba setuzane longi tembe ge nangna sungjawe ge tenda te tene nganzo hakowa jibu pengi mare. Gongchig ge tene chom tangbo nangla tende ji sungyo a, chom niwe nangla tende ji sungyo a, chom sumbe nangla tende ji sungyo a samba tsamji tene pen toyo marwa. Ti indi zane pena nganzo di mengi kola. Tachi men disana pendon tende ji yorewa, men disana yang dila pengirowa sayanru, mengi pen de shemba jibu ge nganzo nasa chatu marwa. Tende indi zane ta gadang tenju menga tenzu nandu sungjabe tende tene ngarang zogi gombe tone sun zengu yore Gongchig yore tendo gomba ina tela tene tobe temba zimba asna sumbarwa ti indu zane longto ge temba nyebu den zensul tende ji inge yusare
So here, when we talk about the teachings of the Buddha, and there comes into two categories. One is the teachings of transmission of the Buddha's teaching, and one is the realization of the teachings. So here, the transmission is the word, the teachings of the Buddha, which is there in the Buddha's word and also in the form of commentaries. And whereas the realization is the kind of the inner essence of the practice of the teaching. So usually we have like Buddha's teaching, and also there's a commentary for the teachings. And one who really practiced the commentaries or the essence of the teachings, that is known as the realizations. For example, usually when we talk about the teachings of like uphold the teachings of the Buddha, doesn't mean that we are benefiting the Buddha's teaching, but rather it benefits us. It's benefit us, the followers. It benefits the followers, not the teaching. When you hold the teachings, then it only benefits ourselves for teachings. For example, like when you try to listen to the teaching, and also when you contemplate on it. So this is known as the kind of this transmission, the teachings, or the transmission of the teachings. Whereas when you come to the practice and the realization of the teachings, then this is known as like kind of the realization of the teachings. So usually when we talk about the teachings, like the realization here doesn't mean that just understanding the teaching, but rather to like put into the practice and also to realize in its own ultimate reality. For example, when you talk about the Gongchig, it is not just enough to understand what kind of vital points. There are many vital points. Then in each vital points, by knowing that for each vital points there are this kind of contains and this kind of understanding and this kind of teaching. It's just understanding, and it's not enough. We have to practice and rather try to understand, practice that. Like for example, if there is a medicine, so like we have to eat that medicine and really need to benefit oneself. Otherwise, even if you know this is medicine, then it doesn't work. We have to eat it. So therefore, we have to practice it. We have to meditate it, and we have to contemplate on it. And ultimately, we have to realize and actualize the teachings. So this is known as the realization. So there are two categories, that is the transmission and the realization. That's all.
Tati indu zane tendegi longda tobegi temba dan zimbar chevala tu sam gom sum sum gyurwa ta tendegi tu sam gom sum kandenda chi chia inayang tene tela ta sapena chi jubegi chinlabndao segurwa lama jubegi rimbala tene chongwe tene longi juba tengi juba 다 tendechi nibar gu yorwa ten du sana tanan tene nganzo ta tagum jibe chomde song yongdu zane tomara tene dorji song tambo dege kara song barasana tambe chu gang juban rewa sawo saya te song yongdu yore ta ti yongdu zane tambe chu gang song dawa tambe chu gang saya dege tanji shiwa nanshin tambe chu longda tambe chu toba saya ti nibo tere ti yongdu tendegi tamchu longdoge tamchu kari inayang 롱게 담추 있나양 지 년에 년도 주바지 고요래 라마 찌기 년에 찌라마 주네 텐데기 주바 파마체바지 고요래 롱게 템반 쟁고요나 데나신도 또베게 템반 쟁고요나 투네 투수 주바지 고요래 디인도 자네 나 텐데기 롱다 또베 템바 데니 년에 년도 주바당 투네 투수 주백이 주바다 덴베 추직라 아니 간주 투성 공숨지 제바이나 델라 때네 드네 주백이 지나버서야 되고 수주 요용고요래 대마인바 개시변나 주반로지 매송아이나 가세지 투성 공숨 제제바이나야 되게 되네 란주 양타바지 둘두고 말해 송거리 근데 인자 추 간제지 냠술랭기나야 라마 주바 양타바지 고야 돼 백해 침부레스 근데 인도산에 담배 주는 주반 잡아서 세야 대송바래
So here, when you talk about the practice of the Dharma, the Parama Dharma or the perfect Dharma teachings, so it comes into the three categories. That is first listening, contemplating, and the meditation. So, and these teachings are categorized into these three things. And all these teachings comes like in the continuation from the perfect master, from master to master. And there are teachings like the transmission and also the realization, the teachings. Then here, when you talk about these teachings, it's when you talk about the transmission, that it comes from one master to another through the listening, through the ear to ear. We have been saying that through the continuation from ear to ear, or if we talk about realization, then it talks about the continuation from heart to heart, from a perfect master to another perfect master, through the heart to heart. Continuations. So, like if there's no continuation like this, then it is regarded as it's not a perfect teaching it's coming from. So, therefore, it is stated that we need to have a very perfect continuation of the masters or the gurus, which can continue the teachings through the transmission as well as through the realization. That's it.
Tiindu zane pena chula juba yantawa gowe jumsen chi karcha yungure tiindu zane tanda sanje dacha tenba tane lodu kawache nawa ta lodu la chidanda karwa thame sung chosa diba jana ware chebardo tane kuse thi thona sanu tama ina lodu la tane ta kache thabu nangwa tenna ne tane thi jesu tane sanje la ya 로마텐데게 되니 지다 구수야 다 시사마주나 구수야 소야게 되니 셰라 푸숨 초바데 푸르와 데푸인도 자네 되니 양지 산지기 구수대에서 마대외 출든지 때난도와 띠인도 자네 되니 디가수 다 뉴게 리턴조게 되니 산지라 카르시바르스나 다 저랑 배신 단다 조보연 조운도 나사야 잡고지긴 나든도 데인도 다 저랑 봐 되니지 시사마주나 시잖아 야그레스 근데야 산지를 쉬도와 대쉬도 전에 산지기 가르송요에서나 단단한 티투스 바위오 마레스 가인스나 네 되니 다지 가르와 참이 숨나 소바라 초사 디바장 람라 때네 다른 제운도 주르가 텐데기 람단 제우튼소 차상지 옌라파 제시에 잠네 뜬 tumgen기 플로만 푸숨 소바지 마중게 파도 만냥인다고 말해스 어떤 송도와 디 인도산에다 디 가르땡게르스나 추일라 주바구유바 티 땡게르 계시빠나 추일라 주바사야지 구메와이나 근데 산제긴게 플로마텐 중가랑게지 추시에네 주민네 선진 멤버치 tumgen지 마차게 파도 만냥인다고 men스는 송고야 개요마와 디 인도 콜소마라랑 소소랑구랑던도 제소는 리로와 이나 텐데 마임바 산지 콩게 되는 두줄의 유배 어다 빵와당 똑배게 되는 연대 tenso tene ji ndurja jena ba tumr nung kenji loma ji ma sarge ba du nyangena dagme soya da tenso gi chu kare na juba number ta ba ji juba ma che ba ji go yu ba da tenso tone ya tene se wo cha yong de ji re
So here the reason why we need to have like kind of perfect continuation of the teaching is that what happened is when Buddha was about to enlighten, and like when he was there in the retreat for 6 years, and his body became too weak, and also at the same time he was nearly about to die. So that time his body is too weak, as well as because of not having the good food. And that time, whereas some of the disciples offer him the food in order to, regain his strength and so forth. That time, some of the demonic forces came about and asked the Buddha, "It's better you can die because your body is so weak and now you couldn't do much. So better you can die." That time, what the Buddha said was, "Right now, I have done nothing for the sentient beings. I still have to give teachings and the continuation of the teachings to all my sentient beings to ripen up the followers. And unless and until I have not able to ripen them, I'm not able to ripen them, then I'm not going to die. So I will only die after I've done my job." So from this also we can come to know that the continuation of teachings in all this is important and it's required. That's all.
tene tena shin tandan di ranso pena gaju ge tene jube lama tensu ge namtar ma jeyun de zane ta chedan gi dorjin chanchen telo naro marpa mela gambu ba phamo chuban jikten songgon sen songgo wa ta tena ne ngaranso mege tenchen imba te jechun telo barwa ta jechun telo bane ma jeyun de zane jechun telo ban ro ji na ngune chena karwa thame mangbu narun ngumro joba sangje simba dorjin changchembu ngola shu deba tneji redo yorete yinna ya tne tumungin durjadang o tinanshendo tambe chude juba cha chembuji den juba de ge chembu yimbe jumsena tene tne mai lama tembe gi lorju tne yongdo wa tendu tendere tendege mai lama tembe chena yang lama tenzogi tne tujulo yobe ta pangdogi yonden yongsu zobachi lama tenso ge yang hlome tuju la che matu ge pardo lame kalen nangdo tenajin do hloma tenso ge yang rani hloma yimbe kapsu lama la tani niba sumji gone be lame ge tuk jiparchene di nane yang labardo tani rab dubegin chebatende pune di gone lame tuk niparchene lame tuk ju ge tobati rangi jula che tubze ala tani bezo na yung dawa ta tenzo nganzo gaju ge lame namtar tenzo na yorwa pena tani jezun telopa ge loma ta chedang mangbo yorite zo benchen naro barwa ene benchen naro pe yang kawa pa de meba jene jezun telopa ten telopa ge yang 대신도 되네 제수 종네 오다 랑게 투주게 되네 방도게 연데 용수 조바데 벤첸 나로베게 투주랑 표토바지 낭도와 표토바지 낭처베게 제라드네 다서 건 낭메 당네 야마자네 저삽랑 나왕고도와 오다 디레네 종데 다 주랑게 저삽인스 마옹바게 소마텐 속에 다 주데 주랑게 멤버 제고레스 근데 하버도 양 되네 marba loza seyaji pyoge tene lama chikta churang la tugres de jesu zongo res ne longten nang nga sol nang zengto nang dawa de ti jumsen kar chayo res na chude juba ke chimbuji yimbe jumsen la tene tene koji juba tesa de ya ngone loman nöden chigla jarsabdo wan kur yung dawa o tende indu zane tenso gu jumsen dawo de karasana tambe gi chude juba ke chimbu yimbe jumsen la tu yung yore
So here, for example, the reason why it stated this, even if you look in the Kajipas, the tradition of the Kajipa masters and their life story, if you look at their life story, like how the teachings and how the teachings comes from one master to another. For example, the Tilopa. Tilopa is actually, he was enlightened from the beginningless time, and also in order to lead the disciples, he has to undergo for the teachings, and in order to show that the special lineage or the special link or the continuity of the teaching, he has to come in the form of human beings, and also he has to follow the teacher, and also while after becoming enlightened, he also offer his teachings, and also while being like, for example, one should have to please one's own master, and at the same time, one try to get the teaching and the knowledge or the wisdom that the master has had embedded in our heart. So this is how we try to get impart the teachings from the master. And that's why we try to please the master and so on. And also his disciple Naropa also later on try to please his master and try to get all the teachings from his master. And later on, his master appointed him as a kind of representative of the master, because after like kind of imparting all the teachings through the transmissions or the realization he transmitted to the Naropa, then he appointed Naropa as the like kind of the representative of him as a the teacher or master for the teaching, the holder of the teachings and so forth. And also he like prophesied in the near future they would be coming like a person like Mapa from Tibet and so on and so forth all this time. So what it means is that so our teaching has to have the continuity. It has to be this is known as how the profound continuity. This is how we have the teaching which has been continuations from one special master or great master to another master, and goes on from one to another through the years or through the realization. Lasso.
Tene pena penche naro pala jechun telo bagi longde nawa nashin chene tene nganzu ta gajugi pyoge nage ta gajugi lama tangshu segurwa tangbude dajugi jerwa marba chugi lorurwa tene jechun marpe yang ta chik ngone lyo dang so tene chachangde pa chik nangmido tangne tene jang pakbe yurdu len sumzamje perwa ta kap tedugi tene chik 산삼카기 파순 로드 탄소데 다 등산한 신기지야 저컵 괜찮데 담보 단다 나신 예매 메시데네 이는 양 되는지 젠센다 대난신도 꾸마다 자바다 탄소테데 배치 디가서는 마음 같은 데지 그래도 어떤 데전에 간다지 강얘기 름바 망보지 게네 자갈라 틈어 숨좀지 폐네 되네 다단데다 자ам 파베 요르게 되네 람마 자 지랭체세 뻔망분 제나로 디나네야 되네 달라마 젠다단 차와니데 제준 단단데다 나로바당 어디나신도 되네 다단데 메티바 어다 되나바니고데 땡나로 디나네야 되네 쪼고 벤체 나로바레 쪼 벤체 나로바테야다 로쭈루다 되네 다와 된다 tembayin jeju marbe de songdo ta tendejene kale je osu jamne lama tenso tenya gi jumzen de khare de yusna ji di tugju le yebe gi chu ta long gi chu za mai ba to be gi chu de tamche deyang long toba zamdang wang toba zam mai bar tugju gi to ba de rang gi julam phu toba jing nang ne oda kale de kasa ji jamna wa o ti indu zane 아더니 마르베 꿀레 좀 나신 전에 제준 나로베게 되네 두째와 친구 제수종네 되네 팅 순베게 갑라 되네 나로바게다 제준 마르발라다 저랑 데랭는 좀 되는 게 제sab도 원그라인스네 제sab로 나솔난다와 아가스나 고지 방도기 연대 용수조바디 두줄은 표현도 전에 그 제삽 차는거와 대지도 전에 된대게 또바 된주기 제삽로 나솔 대자마제 오다 추랑기 야 플로마테네 땀 지단 마르발로 로마 망보레 디나네야 네 드베 잔센 젠 툼켄기 데네 멜라레바 다 제순 젠고레 세네 데네 벤첸 나로베게 제순 마르발로 롱데데 나ን도와 롱데 나와 예송 제네 데네 제진 마르베게 데네 제순 멜라 제수존 오다 컨디션에 간데 지 라마라나 소소기 데네 소소기 또바팅 문엔 진투 타추기 로마직 차르 용도 전에 데네 텔라 왕롱티 맹아 용수조바 낭 투줄로 또바 제주 세베질라들 자살로 가서 나는 거여와 어티인도 전에 따테 탐체대 존돌도와 이나 데네 추기 주바데 개침부인바 주바대양 시기 주바 짬마인바 등기 주바 등기 주바 대양 등 고아점지 주바 마인바 등 또베기 주바 뭐다 텐데지 요거야 돼 되네 배 개체문으로 진행사를 하버도 나랑서 가주반다지 있나 등주바서기도 등기 되네 주바 대양 송거 치기 주바 마인 송거 지난 거 주로 참마데 등기 주바 레데 체브르도양 나랑서 되네지다 줍주 세나인다 가주바 세인두산에 뭐네 주바 냠랭게 토네 되네 또베기 댄산진 tum게 또베기 되는 주바 파르마제 같은데지 차 연구요래 대인도잖아요. 되는 제된 송거게 되는 백개 첨부 지나네 따금 주베기 총경고 데마타도 따와이나엔다 곰바이나엔다 주바이나엔다 야나 롱기 추이나엔다 또베기 추이나엔다 탐제대 주바 넘버 타가지고 그래서는 개 첨부 지나고 텐데시는 송난 거 요사래
So like this is how the continuity of transmission is important, stated there. For example, even the Tilopa, when they give the teachings to the Naropa, and he has prophesied that in the near future, like this kind of person will come, So he prophesied when the disciples become so ripened, so perfect of his teaching, then he could transmit or impart all the teachings to the disciples. Also, when we talk about Mapa came to India for 3 times to receive the teachings. And those days, it might not be that restriction as we have now. We are not sure whether they have this kind of restrictions as we do now, but definitely there is a danger of the wild animal, the ferocious things, and everyone, there's many difficulties there. Somehow, Mapa came 3 times to India to receive the teachings. It's all because of that. And also now he came to India, and he has 2 most important teachers, that is Naropa and Maitripa. Among these 2, the Naropa is one of the most prominent master. And he studied with the Naropa for almost like 12 years, and he imparted the transmission and also the realization of the teachers, realization of the masters, and he has in all of the teachings of its heart, in the fullest teachings from the heart. Then he became the perfect of all the teachings, and later on also he has given a kind of prophecy that in the near future you will have this kind of students like Milarepa, and so though Marpa has many students, but Milarepa is one of the most prominent disciples who could able to digest all the teachings, the transmissions, and also the empowerments, and also the kind of instructions or transmissions or the realization of the inner teachings of whatever the teachings that had with his masters. He could able to impart all the teachings or able to digest all the teachings within, and that was able to continue, not just by a word or just by a word, but also with the meaning or understanding or the inner realizations of that. So therefore, for example, our Kajupa the teachings or the lineage is known as the realization, the continuity of the inner realizations, or so forth. So actually, all the teachings, different major teachings in Tibet are known as the inner teachings, but somehow it was more emphasized on the Kajupa teachings as the inner teachings, or the inner meaning, or the continuity, the holder of the continuity of the inner teachings, or the inner practice, something like that. And therefore, so later on, he was appointed as the one who can uphold this seed, or the kind of act as a representative of their masters. In the same way, the Lord Gyaltsen also stated that he was also appointed in the same way as the seed holder. And also he stated, this is why from the very beginning, Lord Gyaltsen stated that we have to have a proper continuation, proper lineage, or proper link of the teachings. That is the teaching of the, whether it is a view, meditation, or conduct, whatever it is, we need a proper kind of lineage is required. That's all.
Oh yeah, that mata durje sung Nyima derwa konde chugu rangi samnang tsam saya terda. Tan di kar sungere sana tanda kondu chude juba nambra tawa chigdang tene juba chinab de demba tende ji gure sungorwa ta tende indu zane wana ta ga juba la döngi juba yang yu tsigi juba yang yu tene juba ma changwa meba juba chinab de demba ji sene sungyo yorwa ti indu zane tende gi juba chinab de demba tedang juba machewa tela tenne chungwegi 다 추대 가르래 세가 저같이 내용 요래 대인도 전에 드는 제된 송공기 콘대 주고란 게 삼나 점 세한데 송용 말에 대인도 전에 제단 가르스나 지다 나란조 드네 나와 산제바 대나네야 라버도 티바 체중 나다 제바 드네 냠수 랭킹기 드네 표주 남바 차창기 자외기 차네 다외기 nenga jiwa to le yore de ina tawa ngo twe thang ge thone tene ka ju be yang tawa ngo twe thang de ti sa mandra wa ji yung yore de indi zane pena chu ju yin dan da ji ne chue tham je ran xin ma zhu ba re sung ge re chue tham je ran xin ma zhu ba yin be jum sen de da ji yang ko u me ge ri ban da man da thende to ma ten la wa ya ji yung yore wa tene ka ju ba ge yang chue tham je ran xin ma zhu ba yin ba de ye ge re de 이내야 당부 모든 나는 요즘에 최대한 당부권을 ran시 마주버에서 지치도 돈은 대신 많아래. 오늘 가린 난게서는 최대한 랑기 셈레세 나와라 셈세 디톤에 되는 것도 나 용도와 대인도 전에 제단한테는 나와라 셈게 돈은 대신 난게 당부도 산지 좀 된대래. 산지 좀 된대게 되네 랑가르시고에긴도 같은 순나라 저 나와라 셈 때나와 용구요래. 드네 양치 된대게 나와라 셈 존된 나네 자음 파베 요게더니 주친 망 제와지게 나와라 섬거 도는 거 준나 연구요래 대나신도 자설 잠방 공부게야 되는 단단된 도디진 세야다 튼선난도 나와라 섬조 대나바 연구요래 근데 배역의 취주난에 당보고는 나와라 섬레 쓰는 거 준난 켄데 저 가지바게 되는 체준도지 차 연구요래 대인도 전에 단단되네 되는 아주 주바 진압도 된 바트는 주의자의 최대 가르에 쓰는 전에 나와라 셈세야티 인스나 대송바래
So in the second verses, all phenomena of samsara and nirvana are only appearances of one's own mind. And actually, it is stated that in the first verses, any sacred Dharma teachings that are connected with the lineage are profound. Of course, on top of that, which is the lineage is important, one should have to know why the Kajupa traditions or the lineage of the Kajupa lineage has talked about the importance of the meaning and the word itself, and also particularly pay too much focus on the meaning. So reason why the Kajupa focus on this is that actually all other four traditions, major tradition, talks about the same thing, for about the viewpoint, view of the all the views are emptiness and so on and so forth. But whereas here, what the Kajipa master talk about is actually all the nirvana and samsara are actually our own mind. It's dependent on our own mind. But somehow we don't talk to from the very beginning, rather than talking of the emptiness. The Kajipa master straight go to introduce the mind. So mind is the kind of essence of all the kind of nirvana and samsara. So Kajipa master go on talking about the mind, which is the basis of all nirvana and samsara. And it's not actually the Kajipa master they're talking from the very beginning. Actually, it was taught by the Buddha himself. And Buddha has taught this one in the Lanka Avatara Sutra, so that the mind is the source of all the nirvana and samsara. And also the Maitripa talks about this in the Sutra Alankara. So about how the mind is important and how on the basis of the mind, all these nirvana and samsara comes into existence. Therefore, it is stated that all phenomena of samsara and nirvana are only appearance of one's own mind. That's all.
tenere tan 나와라 셈 소인도 자네 되네 조 가르송 거였으나 나랑 저기 단대기 아직 나와상에 간진대신 난게 유나야 자과상에 간지지 고기 유나야 대난신도 용화 대도 간지지 용기 유나야 대담체에 대해 되네 아직 셈기 춘낭 양의 양도 검송에 박차라 때네 되네 칠로네 율 장엔라 소바 자 니메넨라 소바 어떻게 차림 예스 대마도 나랑 쪽에 나완디 그 치료를 이렇게 돌아 장신그 줍대변 나왔던데 지요 말이 대인도 전에 나와랑섬 소야 되지게 도는데 신앙용도와 어떤데 대인 좀 생다고 대행 안 접변나 다 배치 망치와 지기 라렌 소드마 제뇽 유지레 망부 대양 등마 찍자마이 망분 제뇽 유지레 라렌 소드면은 되지 소요와 동난 나서 문남 부시다르스 존나 덴버 중에 아탕체 송도와 대인도 장다들 동해가 조치는 송의 인주 창마지 바래 내도 장에 토미 간지다 지는 양 되는 거랑 속이 생게 물음게 값이 다 비매지라 부지 제와만 땅 배가 초라지고차 되는 양 물음 이와 땅이 전에 부대 10회만 땅 동해용 되는 심제차 다 된대기 내도 니보테 물음기 값 대가랑라 니기 되는 지금 셈데 뚝송도 전에 되네 다 된대기 거지 나와지 샤송하러 이내야 동의게 돈에 부제야 요 말이라 부셰야 요 말와 어딘디 단단한 거랑 속에 나와상이 용수조바데 된대기 전한 거 돈은 나 대바든 지레 예스나 송비요래
So here, when we talk about the appearances of one's own mind, like whatever the appearances of our mind, for example, when it's good or bad, pleasure, the feelings of pleasure and suffering, pain, whatever. These are all actually the imprints of our mind. Because of the imprint, and we could have different kind of appearances coming to us. And because of that, we are in suffering. For example, actually, there's nothing independently existing from our own mind. These are all actually the manifestations of our own mind. So therefore, for example, if you look about the 37 practices of Bodhisattva practices, it is stated that different kind of the suffering comes about. And it's like a kind of the dream, your son, passing away of your son, the death of your son in the dream. What happens in the dream, in one way, when you see in your dream, you like if you see you giving a birth to the boy, you are so happy. But at the same time, in the second instance, when you see that your son has been passed away, then it's very difficult to bear that. But whereas if you look into this, into this situation, for example, it's just a dream and nothing has happened there actually. It's not born there and it's not died. It's just a dream or but somehow we have a feeling that same exactly as we have been born the son, and at the same time the son is dead and so forth. So in the same way, this is how the appearances of our mind, and it is what it means is that there is no other than the appearances of the mind. So it is just the imprint or the manifestations of our mind. That's all.
나야. 다 뒤인데 전에 빼나 나랑 손대지다 봐. 삼노지 당도 전에 네 님의 공다고 지라 되는 건도 내가 그냥 신도비하게 내가라고 지기도 삼노다나 인간 신도비하라 리과뎀 에너지 신데 부가 야본도 내 부가 야본면도 내人타는 첨본도 내人타는 총총에서 근데 그 삼노 만부 직당에 신기 돌은 니마 찍라 인간으로 야나 추수가로 지라 검송하이나 근데 된대기 공배 좀 생각되네 tene ti gonda gin sengi malam gin nangla ta peche jacha jaan raw chigla shingi kola tene malam jig ran shingi le yung dowa tindu tene ji ta shing yabu tobe gin malam yana shing yabu top na yang ti ji shor song gin malam yana shing de peji rintang yabu tobe gin malam ta tene chene kandar ji shingi kola tene malam damana ma bu ji tang yung ruwa pena Tati jumsen kasana ko nyime kono chusu kashe jila ti tola komri ji cha sondu zane trin tsenge malam na te tang yung yorwa ti nanshin indu zane pe ti nanshin chene ngarang choge tante gi tene ji nawa zangi nawa dedu ndramanda naya dila ngazo tene komshi de kashe ji teb yorosana korwa toma meban komshi teb songorwa korwa toma mebane sem kunshin namshi 땡도 teni 박차 상인 잠을 망포 지야 손도산에 디 박차디 민기라 teni 지르고 유르게 나온 잠을 망포지 셔용구르와 어디 인도산에 텐데게 돈선은 동안이나야 어다 고르와다냐데게 추 담체데 어드네 다단디다 삼백의 장수 선나인다 나와랑섬 세오다 텐데지드니 차용구르에 송구이사래
And also, for example, in the daytime, during the daytime, the day work, for example, if we are cutting the tree or the wood or whatever, like the wood is good or bad, and whether this wood is valuable or not valuable, and so forth, for almost like 5 hours, if we have been thinking about it and doing the works about it, then because of that, in the dreams, it comes like the wood, you can see the dream of cutting the wood and so forth, and also the value of the wood and how much it costs and whether it is valuable or not. The reason why is because in the daytime we have been thinking about this cutting the trees, and we are thinking about the value of the tree or the wood for some hours because of that. And in the same way, like, for example, on the base mind, because on the old base mind, we have an imprint. We have been putting this imprint for a beginningless time, for a long time. Because of that, we're having a different kind of impression on the mind. So, like, for example, whether it is a samsara or whether it's a nirvana, whatever the appearances it may cause, these are all because of our mind. Because it's the appearances or the manifestations of our mind, because of putting all the kind of imprints in our mind stream, or the all base mind. We used to say the Khenchen Namshe, which means all base mind, or the continuity of the mind. So because of that, we have a different kind of manifestation of our mind. So these are all because of the mind, and it's known as the form of mind, the manifestation of mind. Vasoda.
Tenanshin penangan sugetne tam metsegi jurim segona da yana Nyima regetne jin sobe nangla nesurda nyoda mambuji sur zoya tayang nanzu semdenre tone nyoda de zoyungdo 파드네 뇨자단 강에디 세야양 semdenre tone 강에 세야기 mambu yungdo da jidangi gochi yang chilogin jungala sobe jenchene nangi lula sobala 강에데 지 용거레데 이나야 텔레 마임베기 내수르 mambuji nanzu sem게 타주 투야 같은데 지 용거 요르와 티지디산에 벤나 간사 파를 보신다지기 그냥 나라 선다 난다고 지라 삼루 지로바지기 토네 그네지 쩐저고 지 망부지 땅용와 이나 빼나르다데 이 땅에도 쓰여 말 텐데 쩐저고 지 땅용와 이나 이쩐 땅기 요와데 네테네 나웨 고네 근데 sem게 돌아 뒤 된다들 레벨도 전에 드니 신이 가 sem된 투용고 요리 sem의 지원과 차용고와 계시 빼나 텐데기 쭌도 땅 용화이나 네바지 제 용화이나 띵에 자와는 하마고이나 나르티 동해게 서로한테 용금도 띵도 따때 가르스나 텐데기 가고 동해당 강에 망보때 먼저 섬게 조되게 요바지다 섬게 나와 임바지 디다 띵 두고도 디나신도 계시변은 조금 침부 용케 추요 탐제 되니지 나와랑 스미바 하고 된게 텐데기 nenjurba chigla 쭌 가세지 땅자바 있나야 디나신도 따직 칭이 가세지 마자바 있나야 코랑기 지 나웨 고 섬나 샤와 있나야 람상변은 출을 못해봐 나신체네 바 yartu를 송용도 띵도 전에 대기 콩나 강에 때 두면도 나랑선도 지나 그 책도 고와 잠지 근데 섬나 샤와 잠지고 강에진 태용도 띵도 전에 대게 강에 용도 모용데 근데 섬게 줄 땅진치 당지가 라래 연구로 오다 텐솔로 때네 근데 나와랑 섬세요 오다 텐데 통하는 대신한 게 유사래
So in the same way, like if we think about our life, in our day-to-day life, so there are different kind of situation there. Sometimes very problematic situation which is related to the mind, and also because of the mind, we could also solve that problem through the through the mind, relating to we can able to solve it through the mind. For example, like if I think about somebody else, about their mistakes or their faults, and if I hear about somebody talking about me or saying something bad or whatever, so when I hear that, instantly I'm in trouble, and my mind gets disturbed. So if I don't know this kind of situation, and if I didn't hear that, there's no problem in my mind. It's because of the mind. So therefore, for example, if you look at the yogis who are able to understand, who have realized the nature of all phenomena as a mind. So it doesn't matter how backbite we did to these people, or whatever the bad things we have talked about him or whatever. So it doesn't matter for him, because he knows that this person can take it as a kind of it's the nature of mind. It's just the manifestation of mind. And just like drawing a picture in the water, in an instant, it can vanish. So there's no problem for this kind of person. So therefore, this is taken as it's all because of the mind manifestation. It's not actually the existing from its own side. It's because of our mind creation, or the mind imprints, or the mind impressions. That's all.
Oh yeah. Atende indu kangdar yang tene nawa rasim sombarwa te indu ta nawa rasim yimba tene she toba yina nawa rasim ge tola tene samno ji tang tu sona nawa rasim yimbe ngishi ji je sonwa yina tene pen ta ji na samji me chaba re surun dor duba yina tene pen number 2 jamji yo song yung da ta namje Gongchig ge tene derchen ka ge nandu tene nawa rasim ko ge tene pen 2 jamji yung ge te indu tane pen dambo tela tene dende songre 나와 상에 강제지 샤와이나양 대탐제대 랑게 셈 트웨왕게 샤기 유백인 이치지당 샤르 유백인 니시지 유송와 있나 근데 델라 때네 지 뇌지게 더올라 샤당제야당 펜지게 돌아 뇌차게 로제야 너나 차당게 로 라과 슈타보텐조 마티스네 슈총총을 되는 조용그레스 차당드네 당보 슈 총의 차 되는 타마 되는 차당 로트다 탐제대 받는 잠이든 로트를 송을 대인도 전에 나와랑 섬조 시송도 전에 섬되더니 배 dur보지 차로 요사래 나와랑 섬인바 시행도 전에 섬대나네지 뇨다당 강에게 망 저와지 라로 파칼레칼 신잠 차로 그래 섬게 등라더니 뇨다게 신잠 차인도 전에 되니 차베게 로당 당웨게 로던조 바 이엔도 투르와 어떤데 인도 전에 나와 랑스 임바 시나 차단게 로 림지 토베 평 지 토고요래 어떤지.
So, whatever it is, if one is able to realize that all the appearances are actually the appearances of a mind, it's the manifestations of mind, then it is stated that one would have a great like kind of peace within oneself, and there is a like kind of quality, the benefits and quality, the 6 different kind of qualities benefit. And like, for example, if one is able to understand, this is all because of a mind manifestation or the appearances of a mind. And if one have a conviction or one have a confidence for that, then it is said that whatever the people say to them, or whether it is, when the people harm you, doesn't matter. Even if it's your enemy or whatever, they would not come a kind of hatred to this kind of person. And even if there's like person who you love or who you like it, then they won't be having a such condition or like kind of chance to arise the attachment for this kind of persons. So because the reason why is that because we have understood the nature of mind, and this all because of the like manifestations of a mind or the appearances of a mind, then there's nothing we can attach to, or there's nothing we can hatred for that because of understanding that. That's all.
야, 근데 더단데 다 평 니바들 가르송 거래 생각하네. 나와 랑심수드네 또 투송아이나. 텔라 때네 니드네 누바 챙긴기 더레 선배 더라 데면 zembe글로. 니 펜바 챙긴기 도레 선배 도라 데면 zembe글로. 덴데기 덴징글로데 바 시버치도 그래스. 덴데기 덴징글로데 시용도 전에 데네 펜토들 가르용 거에서나 다 나랑 좀 코르베난 게 심체 탐체대 되네 자당 니부텔라 차단게 로라바지 제네 레간담은다사 텔라 때네 동해 넘버 나서바지 윤기여바데 시용도 전에 되네 덴데기 심체 된소라 맥네 잠바단 힌제 된소야 고 랑신기 제야라 되네 펜도 슈치와 용거래 송바팅도 나와랑 스님바 시송와이나 자단 닌 짐바톨 다른 닝긴 짐바토르에 돈에 덴데 마드르베게 심체는 맥네더니 닝제제야 장바제야 오 덴데기 로드랑신기 용그레스 띵드잔네 덴 평연 이바데 덴데지 요송바레.
So now the second benefit of understanding that all appearances are just the nature of our mind appearances. That, for example, we have a like kind of one enemy, or also we have a like kind of one's own favorite, like favor, that is one's own relative, and so forth. So when one is understood that these are all appearances, or it's the manifestation of our mind, then what happens is we would be able to stop the strong sense of grasping to one's own relative and strong sense of hatred towards the enemy. And from that onwards, because since one is able to strive, able to reduce or able to eliminate this kind of strong sense or kind of the gross level of hatred and gross level of attachment to one's own relatives, then you can take into account all other sentient beings are also in the same nature. So like then we have within ourselves, they arose a strong sense of loving kindness and compassion towards all sentient beings because of understanding the nature that these are all the manifestations of mind. That's all.
Tene jimsen sumbatela karisong ngre sen penyo sumbate ta nawa ransimi imbatne yang tabaji khungdu chu to tup soma yina. Tene tela tene manzo tene sanga dorje tibege ta gomya nyamlen na ya de krasne khasan khungdu jerem da zorem sen songwa te indi zane 제름단 조름 검백이 곰탄던 소야더니 양타바지 시용 그래 손발다 디 점생 가르치는 시용 그래 saying 전에 빼나 나랑 속에 성근나라 드네 다지 신뢰긴 지den게 감대양 드니 베 뎀바지 마다베 란신 둥해게 란신 드네지 임바 삼노 덴진지 유나 대나신도 나랑게 르라서 반도양 지 둥해게 풍보 샤타게 란신 임바지 뎀버진 송아이나 다 덴데게 뎀바테 뇌긴 지된 자리에 강임바 고냐 깔레카고 찬도로와 난기 르엔데양 하게 란신 임바 고냐 깔레카고 찬도로 가스나 마다발 덴진 슈체라는 단단 나와 란스미 바트니 양타바지 시엔 송아이나 마다발 데먼제베 덴진 로드 도안로 그래 티인도 자네 데니 첸노긴 지den게 감태양 자리에 강게 란신 임발라 니시 람산 젤레라와 나주게 심체 담제양 하다 하무 란신 임발라 니시 뒤뉴르도 제버는 줄와 어떤데 지인도 자네 나와 란스미 임바 시엔 송아이나 제조금 냠낸 텐소양더니 지 레사오 지게 돈에 온로 투레스나 대송바래
And the third one is that, like if you know about the all phenomena are just the manifestations of our mind, then when we are doing on the path of the like Vajrayana practice, and especially in terms of the generation and the completion stage, it has great benefit for that. The reason why is that usually when we talk about the outer object, for example, the container and the contained within. So usually we talk about the container is like a kind of the Buddha field, and the container like person inside who is contained, who the subjective point of mind and subjective, the people who are the sentient beings who are in the contained, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Because what we do is when we have come to know that all things and events are just the manifestations of our mind, then what happened is that we could able to realize that outer object is also the manifestations, and inner object is also the inner subjective mind or subjective sentient beings, also the manifestations of mind. Then it's all just the manifestations of mind. Then it becomes more easier to practice the purity of the container and the contained within oneself. So therefore, it becomes more easier to practice the generation stage and also the completion stage. So that's why, because it is also the beneficial for the people who practice. This is the third kind of benefits. If we were able to understand all things are the events, all things are the events of the mind.
Oh yeah, tene nawara samsu tobe ki pen jigla yang kar sumbarsna. Tene nawara sami imbe ki ta chune nawara ge simni imba chi to tu sumayina. Lamen ne jurgi nyamnen teyang le thawo chi cha tu re sumbar. Te kharchin re saying du chane ta jiten sungun de songdawa lama ta ransum sanje sum songdawa. Tene lama tang rangi semdang sanje sumbudi jigdu to sumayina. Tene ota lamen nenjur chigi yusene jigbe kaleshu jabwe chiyo mares. Tendo lamen nenjur lama da ransum sanje sum jigdu to sumayina. Ta tegarang lamen nenjur gombe ki tumren tartu bata terwa. O tende yindu zane nawa ransum su tonru du zane lama ransum su koyungu yore. Lama ransum su to yindu zane tene lamen nenjur gombe ki tengu tartu bata tene chuyo sumarwa. O techi yindu zane tene lamen nenjur ki nyanganya tene tsedu chimbaji chatu re kumbare.
So in the other way, like when I talk about the purity of our mind and the impressions or the appearances of our mind, and also if we were able to understand all things and events are just the appearances of our mind, and if we have a conviction or the realizations of that, then it is stated that, like even the Lord Jigten stated that the guru and one's own mind, and the Buddha are same in one. And if we were able to understand these three things, Guru, one's own mind, and Buddha in three in one. So together, if we are able to understand, then this is the ultimate state. This is the ultimate state of the practice of the Guru Yoga. So, and also it is the ultimate state of the practice of practicing, and it's the perfect ultimate state of the practicing of the Guru Yoga. That's all.
와야. 되네. 다 pen nga바들 가르송 거였으나 당도 또 고야 돼. 자제 전부 또 봐줄 제구로. 대인들산에 나와랑 심송 내송아이나 근데 자자 전부 내룩양 내라도 또 그래. 송마다 대 가르치는 또 그래서 인도산에 난소 되네. 내룩 탈도 와대 또 버려 제발라 딥랭킹데 가르쳐 인도산에 니난근 출바든 소리. 되네. 다든 셈바 이젠든 셈바 다게 토라 차 이젠게 토라 당 같은 대신에 거지 코로와다 냥데 세안로 야나 다당 젠 세안로 같은 대신에 되네 배 당진게 로되게 되는 아주 통대요와 다든 좀 로세야 되지다 초진의 상황은 그 자침부리도와 당진 유외 가딘라 때네 근데 소소 야젠 로레세야 계제지 유로와 계세 당진만에 야젠 로 말에 sam야지 유로와 오늘 제나 야젠 뭐만 로야도 당진 매나 야젠 로 슈체서와 가인스나 당진 매송아이나 델라드네 느바탄켄 용구마와 느통켄 용구마와 어테인두산에 다 문에게지 대원 타르투바세나얀다 기본 타르투바세야 된도데 당진 토베긴 라지라 드네 자자침부 또바줄레 제세나얀다 심게드네 시데 톨세나얀다 어테인도드네 산지게 컴파운드 톨세나얀다 드네지 연구로와 테인두산에 드네 나와란슴스 녜윤두산에 드네 종야게 다당 다게 초 파드네 빵야게 젠다 젠게 초 텐데 매바지 또인도 자네 드네 섬게 내루 뭐마디 토라 레비아드 드네 레하용그레 숨바레 베나드네 춘로 지나 델라드네 룽게 요와 가세 슈총으로 차송아 이나야 대잠지 최대나라 중행의 그 세르세르 하용그로와 디나신도 남도게 되네 요와 당신 인증기 로기 요와데 가세 파트네 시와 차송아 이나야 대잠지 되네 성게 내루기 땡기 다 자자 침부기 샬스나인다 자자 침부 모세나인다 델라트네지 통수로 타니는 일이 차노를 지당 코로나도 타니 장스게 요마와 담보권의 승거라지 자자 침부에 이난 좀 통수를 비권에 자자 침보다 좀 통수니보다 다른 거지로와 따단다 남도기 로이 요와테 파지 다네 나와랑 스민바지 내윤도 자네 근데 랑라 예배기 예시세고나ян다 랑라 예배기 자자 침보 세고나ян다 어때는 대응원도 주네 근데 야 도진창의 공방문도 전도래 송발 대시도 전에 나와랑 스민이나 자자 침보 또 봐줄라인 제레 라와트네 지인도 있어래
So like now the fifth one, when you talk about the like kind of understanding all the nature and phenomena are just the manifestations of a mind, then it is stated that it is also the beneficial to understand the ultimate nature of reality, able to understand the ultimate nature of reality. So why? Because usually what happens is when we attach to oneself and when we have hatred to others because of the grasping to the self, because of this we have a trouble and we are in problem because we attach to oneself and we try to detach or we try to hatred to others and other beings. So because of these things we are in trouble and we get so and we then because of this we couldn't able to understand the nature or the understanding of the Mahamudra. So because of this will actually obscure the nature and reality of the Mahamudra. So what happened is like sometimes it seems like it's like if we don't have the self-grasping, then it's very easy that one could be able to have the understanding of the Mahamudra. So for example, if we attach to oneself and if we like kind of the hatred to others, then what happens is it can obscure, it becomes the obscurations for understanding the very nature of the reality that is the ultimate nature of reality, the Mahamudra. So for example, if we don't have this kind of if we were able to understand, because of the nature of the mind, if we take it, these are all the nature of mind, and there's nothing such kind of, the hatred and anger or, the attachment to one's own things. Then what happens is slowly we are beginning to understand the nature of our mind. And if we were able to understand the nature of our mind, then we would be able to understanding the Mahamudra. That is the Mahamudra which is within oneself. The Mahamudra in the sense, one's own mind, which is the wisdom aspect. And also that